Hello, my name is Lois and I am teaching how to make a strip piece pot holder today. If you've never done foundation piecing using strips, it's really fun and super easy. I hope that you enjoy this tutorial. Please do not forget to comment with your questions and subscribe to my channel, The Quilting Connection. So to piece the center, you need these 4 pieces. Then you stitch them together side by side, and then you open them up and stitch them together in the middle. And then you'll need to press that seam open very carefully, and you'll have the center block. Then I just added framing strips around each side. So this is the beginning of my tutorial for this strip piece pot holder. I pieced this center flower part and then I just sewed strips on around the edges. I now have it pinned to my foundation pieced fabric with a thin layer of batting in between. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sewing strips on this side first and this side, and then after that I'll do the remaining sides and I'll be showing that to you. Basically what you do, you cut strips of fabric, you put them right sides together here, stitch 1/4 inch seam, and then you flip them and press them and keep on sewing on strips. I'm stitching my first strip on, and it doesn't really matter. Like, you could trim it here if you want, but it isn't going to make too much difference. So I'm stitching it down, stitching it through all of the layers. Then you're just going to flip and press, and if you want to trim that, you can. So I have now made strips on both opposite corners, and you just do it by sewing them down and then just adding and keep adding until you've covered your foundation completely. This is called foundation strip piecing. The next step is on both of these sides. We're going to add strips that are going to cover from here to here. So your first strip will be from about here over to here, and you want it to go over the edge of your foundation, and you'll line up the edge with the shortest edge here and then stitch a 1/4 inch seam, and then you'll flip it out and press it, and you'll keep adding strips until this is all completely covered. So on this side I'm going to add this dark green strip, and you can see there's a little bit of fabric sticking out, but you know what, it doesn't matter, because as long as you stitch a 1/4 inch in, everything you want to have inside. Then on the other side I'm going to stitch this one on, and it's going to be lined up with this piece right here, because this piece is the shortest piece. So it'll be looking something like this, and there will be, I might have to add on another piece here. I'm not sure. I might piece this strip and then use it. So I did piece this. I stitched it. I just stitched a seam. I'm going to press the seam open, and then I'll go ahead and use this strip. And since it's a strip foundation pieced, I don't really see a big deal piecing a strip if you want to. It's not a big deal. You have a bunch of strips anyway. So I chose to piece this strip because it wasn't quite long enough, and I wanted it to be, it needs to be long enough to go over the edge of your batting, because at the end, when you have all this extra hanging over, we're gonna trim it. It'll all be even with your foundation. So each strip goes, I like to have them go past your foundation and batting about 1/4 of an inch on both ends. That way everything's completely covered. So when I add these strips, I am going to stitch 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the strip that I'm adding, because as you notice, particularly on this one, I had to add it so that the shortest pieces were even with the edge, and that means some of the longer pieces are sticking out. But the way I see it, that doesn't really matter because it just adds more layers to your pot holder. I'm going to take this right over to my wool pressing mat. I'm going to flip these out, and then I'm just going to give them a press with the iron. And then I'll be adding on the next strips. And I'm just going to continue until my white batting piece on both sides is completely covered. So I've got all my strips sewn, everything is covered. This is what it looks like on the back. And as you can see, this green fabric is my foundation piece. So the next step is we're going to take our ruler and we're going to trim all the extra off, even with the foundation piece. So as you can see, I have my ruler lined up right with the edge of the foundation piece fabric. I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to cut off all the excess. We're going to repeat this for the other 3 remaining sides. Okay, so we have it completely trimmed. This is the back side, and this is the front side. What we have left now is to make our backing piece and our little hanger, if you would like to, and finish it off. And I will be showing you how to do that in the next steps. Cut a strip of fabric 1 1/4 inches wide, press it in half lengthwise, and then open it up and press each raw edge into the center on both sides, and then fold it in half again and press it. So actually you're making bias tape. Then you just need to stitch it together, and you can use that to make your little hanger. So this is all pinned. Next, very last step is to stitch 1/4 of an inch seam all the way around the edges, and then you'll take this pocket and you'll turn it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.